Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to this amazing episode of Trauma Rock Stars. I want to introduce everybody to Stacy. She is a child and young adult therapist, but you also have an amazing book out, and I want everybody to meet you. And we have so much in common. The first time we met, it was like, how have we not met before in person? But thank you for being on the show, Stacy. You want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Stacy Schaper, and I'm child, adolescent, young adult therapist in Denver, Colorado. And I wrote a book called With Love from a Children's Therapist, hashtag lessons I've learned along the way. And it is part memoir, part my clinical expertise from sitting on the other side of the couch for kids and teens for approaching 20 years. And as one podcast introduced my book as a guide to not emotionally damage the next generation. So I was a fan of that. So I'm going to take
That's
it. Going to
perfect.
take it.
Yeah, because we don't wanna we're learning so much about carrying over generational trauma that's so much on the forefront now, and a lot of people weren't aware of that years
Mm.
ago, like, when we talked, when we were growing up and things that places we were exposed to and stuff like that. You've also had your own traumatic childhood. Kind of we have share some parallel things with our childhood. Do you wanna talk a little bit about that and what made you you and wanting to become this therapist and all the steps along the way that got you here? Because you've had quite a tough upbringing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and I the first like trauma I was sexually abused when I was 3, and I tried to talk to my mom about it, and probably one of the most significant core memories for me is that my mom did not respond well. I actually posted a video about believing kids today on social media. And part of the reason that well, all of the reason that she couldn't hear me was because like you just talked about generational trauma, she had her own stuff that she never addressed. And had my mom done her work, my entire life would be different. Entire.
Oh, and this didn't your assault go on for like 7 years?
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
You had said it was,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
far?
good. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, how far you were 3 when it first started, how long did it take you before you told your mom?
So I tried to tell her when I can remember the moment she lost it and was like, if that's true, you can stand up in front of the entire family and tell like it was not good. And so when we had like stranger danger conversations in second grade, I was like, yeah, like they're like, tell a safe adult. I'm like, who's a safe adult? Like, they're just gonna tell my mom and she's gonna react like that again. And so when I was 10, my mom married my stepdad and who is a wonderful man. And he was like, there's something off about this kid. Normal fifth graders don't like come hide in the closet after school. Like it's weird. And so they put me in a facility like that I don't believe exists anymore. With Monte Vista, I talked about. And they handed me a packet of paperwork and they were like, "You're 10, fill it out." And I'm like, "Okay." And so it said, "Has anyone ever touched you?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." Because I'm like, I'm in this place. They'll know what to do.
How old were you? You were 10 when you went to Monte Vista? Okay, okay.
Court case happened. And then my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mhm.
And so in her infinite wisdom, she paid for 4 massive men, to come get me in the middle of the night to go to Utah to a residential treatment center.
You
And
were 11,
I
right,
was
when that
yeah.
happened? Yeah.
Mhm. I was 11, and so I want to believe it was with all good intentions, but as we know, and now, like, all of the documentaries and things are coming out, those are not good places, and they're not actually healing treatment centers.
Right.
And so I was there 360 days,
This
and
was the one in Utah.
and then when I came home, my mom was full blown breast cancer. I'm an only child, full blown dealing with breast cancer, her and my stepdaughter at the hospital all the time, and that's when I kinda tried to begin cultivating a shiny persona that I was like, I get the grades, I'm, like, outgoing, all the things, and, like, pushed those things down so, so deep. That's, like, part of the outline.
It sound it sounds like, and we didn't talk about this, but it sounds like your stepdad, like, really was looking out for you and knew something was off. Were you not able to really lean on him? Because
Yeah, it's really funny that you bring him up because they currently extremely relevant. Um, he, um, he's a good man. I think that especially in that day and age, 'cause 1989, like, they were very unequipped, and that's so much of my platform of, like, trying to equip with, like, all the resources because 'cause I'm
yeah,
like, "Read a book, like, read an article," and so, I mean, I think that, my mom was the primary parent, right? And so her reaction was initially, like, so bad that I was like, if I go to him, he's gonna go to her.
and he was in a tough situation
Oh,
because,
yeah.
married now to your mom and you're his stepdaughter now, and he's gotta tread very lightly.
Uh, yeah, and so, like, I recently said, I hope you read how you were painted as the hero in my book." Because I think he hadn't had any kids, and so he was, like, coming on the outside, he's like, "I don't know a lot about kids, but something's wrong with this kid." And
Yeah.
so, like, could see through a different lens, and so he's a wonderful man. He taught me to drive. The spaghetti bowl. But I think that so much of our time together before my mom died when I was 22, my mom had 17 surgeries. Like they did a mastectomy on the wrong breast. Like it was a whole thing.
My
And
gosh.
so, but like part of that like felt relief to me because they were occupied elsewhere and like I could just kind of do my thing and be shiny all by myself in this house. And so I think there wasn't room for me to have needs.
Yeah. Were you ever, and she was so sick. I mean, were you ever able to have those conversations with your mom about any of that before she passed?
No, I only started so my mom died in 2001, the same year, September 11th, the June of September 11th. And I only recently started talking about my trauma about a decade ago. And so I wouldn't go to any kind of counseling, I think, before my mom died. I did try to go on campus in college and it was not a good experience. But I think for a long time I felt like it would be a betrayal to her to be honest because the reality is that I grieve my mother, but I grieve the mother I never had.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and how's your relationship with your stepdad?
It's really funny that you asked this because no one has asked this, but a woman moved in 3 days after my mom died, and I was already in another state, and this woman I was supported I got that I was 22, but I knew he needed, like, love, but this woman felt threatened that I look like my mom, and
Mhm.
so she had him take down all the pictures, and he started being secretive and weird, trying to call me secretly and it just felt gross. So I said, um, you like, I can't do this. Like, you either get in my life or get out of my life. Like, you can't just disappear. You're my only like family and I can't have like a stable, but I didn't have like the greatest language because I was 22. And
Right.
so I actually, Tracy, did not hear from him until last week. And so it's bizarre that you bring it up because yeah, I can show you, but my one of my best friends sent him my book. And so, he sent me I don't know what to do with it, of a frame.
Okay.
Yeah. So this
That
book
had to have been pretty expensive to put together.
right? That's what I keep telling my friends, and they're like, "So it doesn't matter." Like he and I'm like, "It does matter." But so it was a letter. that so he's been following me on social media and that he's so proud and he loves me. And it has been 25 years.
Yeah, and how did so he did that out of love.
Mm,
You've had some distance over for a long time,
mm.
decades from him, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, he reaches out, but he's telling you he's proud of you though.
Yeah. So I it's just really not a single person has ever asked about my stepdad, so it's just very ironic. And yeah, and he sent me an email that was like, I sent this is the letter I sent. Like, yeah, it was outside my office door. The package was left and I was like, "What is this?" It was not on my bingo card. And so I said that I wrote back and I thanked him and I said, um I hope you know that you were painted I hope you read and deeply felt that you were painted as the hero, which is why it was devastating to lose you again. And I am not ready to have meaningful conversation. I need time with my therapist and my thoughts and my friends. And so that's where it lands in this
Mhm.
moment. And so much is stirred up because he was complicit in Utah. He was complicit. And so yeah, my therapist said how fast I would take a baseball bat to that frame. I'm like, no, it's beautiful. And she's like, meh. It was very considerate and thoughtful. And he clearly spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Mhm.
But as I said in my letter, I have lived more than half of my life without you, and I have adjusted to the absence. And I will have to think about how I would want to reintegrate.
Well, and that's scary too because people come out of the blue, out of nowhere. Like, I've had somebody reach out to me after 30 years recently. And, it's, you've got to think like if you let him back in, are you going to get disappointed again
Right.
and let
Yeah, that
him,
too. Yeah. Like,
is he going to be all in, or is it, a one-off, or because you don't wanna have to, like, it's grief, like, you don't wanna have to grieve because you lost your mom, then you lost him, who was the only stable part in your life at that time, and now he's back, but is he staying?
I know I told a
And, like,
friend, yeah,
on what terms? Which you can call the shots, like, you're the one who
right.
sets the boundaries, how you would want that relationship to pick up if you did, but, yeah, I mean, you need to reflect on that a lot. That's a tough
Yeah.
one.
Well, I told a friend it's kind of like a main character in your show
Yeah.
dies in season 1. And then in season 6, the like season finale is like they're not dead. They're
Mm.
back. And you're like, "Wait, what?" And so, yeah, he said in the letter he wants to see me in the spring or whatever and I'm like, I don't know. So the jury is still out.
Yeah,
Um
and that's okay. That you don't owe anybody anything except yourself. So whatever
yeah.
you decide is okay. You know that, you know?
Yeah, 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 and so it's interesting. He was like, I followed you on social media, and I'm like, you have because I've looked for you, and so you must have some kind of shady profile. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that like in dealing with trauma, like it's a whole new layer because it's like 25 birthdays and 25 Christmases.
Yeah.
Like that's just a lot.
Well, and now, like, you've grown so much, you and I talked quite a bit, and we've both done so much internal work and things like that. So your reaction's very different than it would have been even 10 years ago,
Sure,
you know?
absolutely.
So I think that, that's just something that you need, you need to just reflect on it and decide what's best for you. And, long term, like I've had people in my life like that. And and then you go through, well, life is too short. If something happens to them, I don't want to have any regrets. But you make decisions of people, how they make you feel.
Mm.
And you can't, I've had people like that in my life and they actually have passed away, but I haven't had regrets because I set my boundaries for my reasons. It wasn't to be malicious. It was just those were my personal boundaries. And it wasn't that I didn't care or wished harm on you. It was just, it was just time to move on. And it didn't matter who it was. That's happened to me with friends, with family members. because and, he was there for you, but he wasn't there for you.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, my mom's last wish was for him to take care of me, which he told me, and I don't think we did that. And
Yeah.
so I
He
think
probably
that
didn't
yeah.
know how, Stacy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, well, I mean, step number 1 is like that the world, and I wrote about this I wrote about this part in my book, that the world is big enough to hold us both, like him and that I wasn't a threat. But like I tell my kiddo clients, like you never beg for love. And I just didn't have the language to articulate like I'm not threatened by her and I wish she wasn't threatened by me. And like, I still want to be, I was financially independent, like I still wanted
Yeah,
to be connected. So I think that there's a way to not have to sever, but it's complicated. And
it
again,
is.
yeah, 2001.
Life's complicating and healing's complicating, and it
Mhm.
puts like a whole different outlook on things. Like once you get to a certain point in your journey, you know, I want to step back when you were talking about with younger kids when you're, doing therapy sessions with them and things like that. And you tell them, you don't beg for love. But I remember so many times growing up, like I was just desperate for it.
Mm.
And even especially, like, even in your adolescence and early 20s, you're just, like, desperate for it. So, like, that's when you settle, and you do things like that. Actually, I wish I had had somebody back then in the '80s and those times when I had somebody to turn to that could, show me that's not how it is, that comes from within and stuff like that. And now we're so much more informed. You're specialize in this now. This has led you to this journey now where how do you talk to the younger generation, tweens and teens and even in their 20s but where they really are listening and get through? Like how do you do that?
My very first thought was a conversation that I had last week that I was like, girl, be so for real right now. Like, he doesn't even know himself and you're letting him define you. She's like, you're right. And like, I
Mhm.
think, like, she was talking about being like assuming something in the scenario. I'm like, you don't know that. You don't know that for sure. Like here's some other possibilities. And so I think kind of like giving them a mirror to question some of the things that they believe. That you're like,
Mhm.
oh well maybe, and they're like, that's a good point. And I'm like, I know, I make good points for a living. And
You're like, that's
um
why I get the big bucks.
well, I take insurance, so
I
no.
know.
And so Medicaid. So, but I think that I'm also not what they expect when, a
Yes.
therapist, and so that's fun. So I love the moment when they realize that I'm pretty cool and humble. It's a hard combination.
Well, and that was my point. I would have loved to have found somebody like you back then that could talk the talk, because you've been there but you also know how to get through to that adolescent frame of mind. Because, our brains like suppressing trauma and stuff like that. It's so dangerous what it does to our bodies. I just think it's gotta be so hard. Like, thank gosh we didn't have social media back when we were growing up. I don't know if I could have gotten through it, you know?
No, it's rough. Even I was talking this morning about how they all track each other and
Yeah.
like it's like an exercise in hurting your own feelings. Like stop, girl, stop. And so
With
I think
with social media with your young clients, do you find though that on a positive twist though, they're more informed?
absolutely. Absolutely. Like
Because it's like a double-edged sword, right?
yeah, I always say, like, I don't wanna villainize, like, social media or online because, yeah, like, so many good things do happen, but I think, we've even seen as adults how addicted we can be to the scroll, and I think for kids, it's even worse, but I think it's really hard too because with social media, I think that, parents who, like, check phones and, try to do their diligence, I think that there's things that they're missing that they're not aware of. 'Cause I think
Mhm.
what they're looking for is like signs of like bullying or like mean girl stuff or sneaking out. But what kids are coming in and telling me are things like they saw all of their friends make a TikTok without them and they like sort of kind of reference that person. and like they know that it's targeted, but you wouldn't know that unless you were them.
Uh,
And so I think some of those things are really hard because kids will say to me, I have no friends. And a parent might say, yeah, you do. Like you were hanging out with all those, but to the kid, they're not feeling connected because of that isolation. So it's just so complicated.
and kids are cruel.
Kids are so cruel. I wanna do a whole thing on, Regina George, but make it 2026. Um,
Yeah.
and I will.
Well, you touched on something with parents because they should be screening what
Oh,
the kids are doing just because of just for the predators out there alone. And you said they're not looking for the right things. And I know like kids have their own language. Even emojis mean certain things that parents aren't going to know. It's like a whole separate language. What like how do you get a child to wanna open up to their parents and tell them, like, "I'm really feeling left out. I feel like I'm getting slighted by my friends. This really hurt my feelings." Or do you have to assess the relationship between your young clients and what their parents are to even advise them if they should even turn to their parents? Because you as much as in a perfect world, you wanna be able to turn to your parents, you can't. You couldn't, you know? So in reality, is that really feasible?
I mean, I definitely think that it depends. I'm actually doing a whole series, in February on, and my first one actually comes out on Thursday, a thing that I made about translating youth culture. So, like, I, I'm gonna do a video on streaks and how like kids care about streaks. I don't know if you know what that is, but
I have no
like it's
clue.
on Snapchat and it's like if you and I have a streak, that means we've been in contact for like 300 days or something. And like, in order to keep that contact, it doesn't mean I have to leave you a message. I can send you a picture of the floor or the wall, which they all do, and like to keep up the streak. And so it shows like Stacy and Tracy have 300-day streak. When one of those gets broken, if like someone doesn't like do a message in that day, a kid is devastated.
I was gonna say, are they letting that define them?
Well, it's devastating, but, like, why, like, I want to do a video about it is because, like, it's fair in term like, if we think about it as an adult, if you're talking to your best friend every single day and then they just stop talking to you, like, that's painful. And so as adults, we have better language to be like, "Hey, dude, is there, like, something going on? You okay?" To know that maybe it's, like, not about but if your friend ghosts you and so it's, like, their version of that, and so I think that that can be really painful for them, and, like, a parent could be like, Why do you care?" And it's, like, it's a microcosm of, like, what we care about too. It's just in
Yeah,
teenhood, you know? And so, yeah, in communicating, I think my part of my platform is the more work that you do internally, the safer place you are to be to land to others. And so I have a chapter called hashtag get your own Stacy, doing your own inner work. Cause I had a kid yell that to their dad in my waiting room. And I think that the more that a parent tries to like work on their stuff, the more a kid sees that and feels that is more
mhm.
likely to open up.
Do you find so if a parent's listening to this, which they will be, and they've got an adolescent, preteen, teen, whatever, struggling, and they're thinking about getting them therapy, but not all is we you and I both know, a lot of therapists out there suck.
A lot of them.
They don't know how to connect and they don't know how, to really make you feel safe that you can turn, and also there's a lot of BS where you're talking in circles for weeks on end, just talking in circles and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere with a lot of therapists. So, like, what would you tell a parent, like, if you're thinking about it, don't bother if you're not going to take the time to find the right therapist that your child
Yeah,
connects with.
for sure. Yeah, like um I think that it can be really really tricky and if you don't do your work like in finding the right clinician, like you can burn the bridge of hope for a kid.
Even more, yeah.
Yeah, I love when kids are like, you're like, you're not what I expected." I'm like, "I know."
That's
No, and
awesome. It's such
yeah,
a compliment.
I think so. So,
Yeah.
or like kids will say to me often, I didn't want to open up before I came here." I'm like, "Of course you didn't. You didn't know who I was. That's normal." Like I always tell kids it's my job to like earn your trust. That's my job. That's not your job.
Right.
And so I think, yeah, like really vetting the right, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
Let's be real, like vetting for like, and there are good therapists out there. There are a lot of bad ones, like in any field, anywhere. And like I've personally experienced some bad ones.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and so that's hard. That's really hard. So I would say like, yeah, like to fill out their energy, and like if it feels like you as a parent, like, can connect with the person, because that's important
Mhm.
too. That you
Right.
feel like who's talking to your child, who is an influence on your child. So, yeah, I would definitely say if you're just, like, picking from a list, then, like, checking their name and their availability and their insurance, and that's all you look at, like,
Mhm.
it might not be the right fit. And, like, sometimes you don't have the first one as the best fit, like, that's normal too.
I don't think I told you this, but I got so I don't wanna say desperate at one point, but I just could not find somebody to connect with at all, and at one point, I turned to because I went to St. Vitus. I don't know if I told you,
Oh, yeah. Uh,
but, so there was a priest at St. Vitus who everybody adored, like, everybody loved him, so at one point, I was like, "I can't find a therapist, I'm gonna maybe lean on him," so I went to schedule a time to meet with him, because I just needed to talk, and he completely yeah, he actually had and he knew my history and everything that I had been through and everything, because my whole class knew, and he actually had the audacity to say to me, "Well, you're just coming to me out of the blue, I'm not a run-a-priest."
okay.
And
Oh,
and this is when I was older, like, I was out of St. Vitus at that point, but I had always remembered him, everybody had loved him, so I'm like, maybe so I and of course he remembered me, but he completely, like, crushed me at that point, and at that point, I think I just gave up
for
after
sure.
that, and that's the like even if it's somebody that is recommended or somebody has high regards for, whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right fit for your child or your family. And I gave up and I shouldn't have. I should have kept researching but I don't even think my parents knew honestly what to
No.
do.
It's exhausting too.
It's exhausting, and to have to go to one, and then you get started with your whole story, and it doesn't work out, then you've gotta start over again with somebody else. It really is, it's a lot, and I think, like, that's the first thing they do, "Well, tell me your story," and I'm like, "No, tell me about you." Like, I wanna know, Stacy, if I wanna keep coming to you, so you tell me why I should still keep coming to you.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
almost like you do the interview, because this is for you and your family, you know?
Yeah. Well, I always tell kids, like, and I'm sorry that happened to you. That's awful. I always tell kids, like, you have a right in here called I passed. I'm a therapist. I'm gonna ask you nosy questions to try to help you feel better. If there's something you don't want to answer, not now, not yet, not ever, you say pass, and that's always honored. And I
Yeah.
think like that's a really, really important rule to me, because I don't want to talk about what I don't want to talk about. Like,
Well,
why?
yeah, because you were in their shoes too.
Yeah, and so it's like that they feel like that they have more ownership and more say, and that, like, it's not gonna get, like, straight back to their parents, and, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's my job to earn your trust, and I hope to. I'm like, but there's no timeline on that.
Right, right, exactly. Wait a minute, when did you actually decide you wanted to be a therapist?
I think it was 3. No. There's pictures of me with
You're
Care
like, "At
Bears.
birth," no.
Yeah, there were Care Bears in a group therapy session. I think, like, probably when I mean, like, I didn't exactly know of the profession till I was, like, 11 and then met a not real one, and I was like, "I could do a better job than you," and I'm 11. And so, I was like, "Let's be real." And
Yeah.
so I knew that there had to be adults who knew how to support kids. I just didn't know any. And so I'm like, I'm going to be one because I'm going to be better than you
Yeah.
because I'm feisty. And so
Yep.
yeah, I like in college and, like narrowed down specialties like in grad school. But my mom died the summer before my last semester of college.
Mhm.
And so, I was already had already been admitted into grad school, and so I originally thought, like, I was just gonna build kind of a foundation on grief, and then, like, things evolved and started doing my own deeper work about a decade ago, and so I'm a better clinician because I have done my work.
100% because you can guide them much easier. Do you find I want to talk you mentioned a little bit about bullying and like I've got to talk to you about this because I feel like everybody's labeled a bully and kids are
Right,
just mean.
right.
So, growing up, like, everybody's been bullied at one point, but then there's also the just being mean and being teased. How do
Yeah.
and I'm so sick of everybody accusing everybody as being a bully. I'm like, because I'll even say it to my Steffi, were they being a bully or were they just being mean?
Yeah.
There's a difference. How do you, like, from a clinical perspective, navigate through that with your clients? And
Yeah.
you
I
know what I'm saying,
I
right?
do. I do because I say to kids a lot, so other kids are allowed to not like you. Like that
Okay.
isn't necessarily
And vice versa.
yeah, and, like, I somebody from childhood, it's when it, like, reached out to me and was like, "I'm a proud owner of your book, and, like, I can't wait to advertise it." And, like, in my head, I'm like, "You were mean. You were a mean girl." Like, she didn't bully me, but she was mean. And so, it's been funny because, I've talked with kids. I'm like, "You know what happens to the mean kids one day? You do something impressive, and then they want to, like, advertise you like your friends all along." So,
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of conversations with kids about not and because I've had to learn this, that not everyone's going to like you and you're not gonna like everyone. And that's okay. Like, I think that from a clinical standpoint, being like when it like interferes with like their ability to like learn, sit through a soccer practice, participate in a soccer practice, when it like impacts their performance and their ability to do the things, that's when it's probably more like, to look at that more. But yeah, I think that we've definitely overused the term bullying, which
Mhm.
then makes it like, like with anything, the crying wolf, it makes less paying attention from the people in charge because they're just like, yeah, yeah, everyone's bullied. And so I think that it's a bit more narrow of like things that would actually qualify as bullying
Yeah.
that happen, especially since there's such a level of awareness now.
Mhm.
But
And people kids tease, like, just because 'cause you're being teased and picked on doesn't mean they're bullying you, like, to me, bullying is like, being teased and stuff hurts, of course, it hurts, like, it's gonna hurt your feelings, but I feel like a bully really is somebody who you really like, it almost inflicts fear.
well, yeah, I had a kid once upon a time that was a tween, and the kids on the sports team filmed them doing something terrible to this kid. Filmed
Mhm.
it, and they're
Oh,
not very smart because, like, they sent it to the group chat, and so the mom obviously got a hold of it and sent it to me, and so that was very, very
yeah,
significant,
and it
traumatic.
was intentional.
It was intentional, it was mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "Oh my," I'm like, "You idiots, like, it's on what are you doing?" And so I think that, sometimes when we over label that, that's hard, but I also think we don't want to, like, not validate what they're experiencing, that, like, yeah, like, kids can be very cruel, they do things, to make themselves feel better. They're trying to figure themselves out in the world, and in the process, like, hurting other people, and they don't care because they're egocentric. And
Hurt people, yeah.
yeah, and so I think I talk with kids a lot about what are you learning that you don't want to be like? what are you learning that you do want to be like, from this person? Because if I ask any kid, like any kid that I see today, I can ask them, who's the Regina George right now in your life? And they will know the answer. They will know the answer and they'll be like, well, this person. And like, what are you learning about how to not move through the world? And they're like, I don't want to like give everyone a dirty look. I don't want to do this. And so I use it a lot as like teaching of like how you want to be as a person as
Mhm.
opposed to like what's happening to you.
And
Cause I'm
how
like,
you don't wanna be
right,
too,
right.
yeah.
And so like right, and so like I'll say, like I was like I, was like not treated nice like by this person and I know that I don't want to be fake. That's what I'm learning now cuz I'm just like and like the reality of her remembering maybe like is low. But I remember and so I think that it's important to me to like have kids want to develop themselves more than focus on what other people are doing to them or perceived to them.
Do you believe now that, you're an adult, do you believe that life is mirroring back to you the energy you're putting out there?
I don't I'm not sure. I think it catch me on like any given day and the answer could change, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I mean, I think that I am bringing like goodness like to the world and I think that I really, really want my book to, like, make change in the world.
Mhm.
I had no idea how much I have to say. I kinda thought with my book that I said all the things and there you go, but as it turns out, I'm working with my business manager to develop a course about how to raise emotionally healthy kids,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, "Oh, I have more things to say." So, I think a new level was, unlocked when I wrote my book.
Oh, I'm sure the floodgates opened up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your book for a little bit
Okay.
because I love the title. Did you wanna hold it up again so everybody can see it? Love it.
And there's a little butterfly because that's like kind of my signature is like, but I love butterflies and the symbolism of butterflies. Yeah, I'm super proud. I'm super proud of my book. I flew to Nashville to do my own audiobook. So if you like,
Oh, yay.
yeah, so if you like this voice, it's 7 hours of it.
I love when authors do their own read
It was
for
so,
audiobooks.
so great. Shout out to Nashville Audio Productions. It was one of the best experiences. And so I was so nervous and they were amazing. And so yeah, I'm really proud of my book.
Did you self-publish, Stacey?
No, I worked with, a company that's like a hybrid company called Illumify. Shout
Mhm.
out to Illumify. So, no and they were really wonderful to work with too, and so, I am proud of my book, and I do believe I have more to say. I do believe there'll be another one, but I want this one to do well.
Well, yeah, and when did your book come out so everybody knows?
April,
Mhm.
2025, and then my audiobook came out in May. So, yeah, and on my website, which I'm guessing in your show notes, you'll have my
Oh,
website,
yeah, I'll
but
include all that, yeah.
yeah, but, like, if people go to my website, you can put in your email address and it'll give you the first chapter of my book for free. So
That's what I was gonna ask.
yeah.
So what could parents is it mostly for parents or is it for their kids?
It is for I s it is mainly geared towards parents and caregivers and educators. And I say it's for anyone who loves someone who's 11 or who was ever 11
So
because
anyone.
yeah, so I've been getting feedback, a lot of my friends that don't plan to have kids are like, "I got stuff from your book. I felt seen." And so that makes me really happy that it's like it's not just for that. Or like some friends have said like it helps me see my niece different. It helps me, and so my hope is that people feel seen and heard at some point within my book.
Well, that's awesome because, I mean, we were all 11, but I don't remember what 11 really felt like. When I was 11 and 10 years from now, I'm not gonna know what things feel like now, So that's great for people to be able to read that. And with that, is it the type of thing that it kind of is and I don't want you to give away everything that's in the book, but is it kind of giving people the tool parents or caregivers, like you said, the tools to, like, hit the reset button and start fresh with how they're
I
doing
like
things, or is it just having them tweak the way they're doing things?
I mean, I would just say like that. I mean, I hope is that it brings like a level of awareness because, in my opinion, we're always tweaking things, we're always like healing. I'm like working like on the layer myself of like not seeing lack of self-care as a flex, and
Mhm.
so trying to really lean into that, like taking a vacation in February. And so there's a whole chapter on like conversation starters like with your kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think honestly when you do your own work, whatever that looks like, then that benefits like everybody around you. And so my hope is that like it's like to kind of start with where you're at, like looking at your own stuff, like feeling seen. Cause I never found myself in a textbook. Like I was like, that's not accurate.
I was gonna say, can they really help if they're not to doing their own work internally too? Because you bring a layer, whether you realize it or not, you bring your own issues
Yeah,
to
for
the
sure.
relationship, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think parenting is like the hardest job ever. And and I wrote about in my last chapter, Willow, my oh my gosh, she's sleeping with her little tongue out. It's really cute.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
Oh, is that your puppy?
oh yeah, that's Willow. Do you want me to bring her?
Don't
Hi.
wake her up. Is she a
She just
golden?
woke up. Her
Is
like
she a golden?
she is a golden.
Because I have a golden.
Oh, come here, puppy.
Oh, you don't have to wake that sweet
She
angel
woke
up.
up. She woke up when I said her name.
Oh my gosh, look at her. How old is she?
She is one. Hi,
She's
Muffin.
beautiful.
She's like, yeah, she is a doll baby.
So I'm on, just so you know, I'm on my fifth golden.
We have the golden thing in common too.
Yes.
She's my third.
There's nothing in this world like a golden.
I know she's the absolute.
She's beautiful.
I got a sign outside that says beware golden retriever on duty.
Are you at your office right now?
I am like,
So when when your clients come in, she's there.
yeah,
Is another layer of support.
I open the door and I say GREET, and she goes and sits. Like she usually will sit by the parent first because she knows the parent's not coming in. But she is an absolute doll face. And
She's
so
beautiful.
I have like a kid this week that she will talk like to Willow to me. She'll be like,
Oh,
Willow, I feel, and Willow's like, okay, cool. And like she knows hug.
oh,
Oh,
look at, I know, they're the best. I can't bel congratulations on
thank
your first golden. You'll
you.
ne
Thank you. Well, so how I brought her up. That's a good hug, my love. It's like she's stupid cute. Like it's just ridiculous. So I wrote in my very last chapter about how her first trainer was like mean and shaming, and I felt terrible when I would leave. And so I said, that's the very last thing that I want people to feel reading my book or coming into my office, that like, shamed. And then I was like edited to note, like the like owner of the company, like her, oh, excuse you, heard about and like paired me with somebody better. And so it ended well. But it's really important to me. Like I have such high respect for parents that bring their kids to counseling because like it's vulnerable and you're
It
like,
is.
I don't know what to do with this kid I love, and please help, but I want better for them. And
Mhm.
so it's important to me that like shame doesn't enter the chat.
Yeah. And it's okay that if parents, it's so different like when you're in it and it's your child and your mother or your father or your caregiver. It's almost better to have an outside neutral person for them to talk to because you could tell somebody the exact same thing their mother or whoever told them and it's going to be received much differently coming from you.
Oh, yeah, every day. Parents are like,
Yeah.
"I said that." And so, I mean, the research shows that, like, if there's one significant adult outside of your parents, regardless of how great your parents are, there's one significant adult that is safe and is, like, feeding into your child, that's, like, pouring, that there's more positive outcomes associated with their mental health. And so
And I'm so glad you're saying that because that's what I was just talking about. I never had that. Even
yeah.
though there's family members that love you and care about you, I never had like a mentor that
Mm,
I could lean on, and it's so important for everyone to have that. And
yeah.
so, do you practice only there, or can you see people virtually all over? Like, where are you
Yeah.
licensed?
I am licensed in Colorado and we're licensed in Colorado and Texas, which is kind of random, but a family moved there and paid for me to be licensed in Texas.
Wonderful.
And so yes, so I do virtual like can you handle it? That's a good
No,
hug. That's a good hug, Willow. And she normally doesn't love Zoom because no one's petting her.
they
Uh,
are the best huggers.
she's a really good hugger. Yeah, and so I am licensed in Colorado and Texas.
Okay. So you can only see clients in those 2 states.
For now, like,
Okay.
they are trying to change the laws, and so that might be changing soon.
What about cash payers,
Um,
or is it
it
only
might be
insurance?
yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think that, it doesn't matter, like, the payment. I mean, it could be wrong. It'd be a case by case situation.
Okay. But there's your book and you're working on like a workbook kind of extension to it, to the book?
No, like, I think that, like, eventually I wanna write, like, a whole 'nother book.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you said
No,
you
it's
were
okay.
talking to your business partner
Oh,
about working.
like, is helping, like, start to develop the course, like, creating emotionally healthy children.
Oh,
So
that's right, the
my
first.
there's also, a free resource on my website that is, like, 5 things parents should know in 2026. So
Mhm.
there's that free resource too. But yeah, the course right now, I'm, like, doing some research on what, like, parents are needing and what they're Googling and, like, what's, like, a challenge that they're currently facing. I'm gathering that research to develop a course around that.
Okay. Well, I wanna say anybody who's listening to this, you need to go on YouTube and watch the video of this, otherwise you're gonna miss all this cuteness of Willow, and she's so beautiful, she's adorable, so if you guys are
You
listening, make sure you go check out the video version of this because you don't wanna miss this beautiful face of hers. Oh my gosh, she's
She's
so
a doll baby.
precious,
She's an absolute doll baby.
and
So
there's so much importance with pet therapy.
I think so, because we know dogs are better than people, we know this.
Oh, totally. Well, it's gone backwards.
Avi.
Yeah, they're our little angels here on earth. With I wanna thank you so much that we were able to connect and have you on the show. What last just some any last, thoughts you have that you wanna let the listeners know before we close things out?
I think that if you care about, like, being a better parent, aunt, uncle, caregiver, educator, if you care about being someone for kids, like, even better, you have already done significant work, that you want it to be better, and that, like because, like, I tell one of my clients said, like, "I'm worried that this thing is a red flag," and I'm like, people who worry about things being red flags, like, aren't the people we're worried about. And so it's like
Yeah.
you care about being a better parent, like, you're already doing a big thing that did not happen in 1989.
Yeah, yeah, good point, and they're all that's, like, good for them.
Good for them.
Good for them. That's like that you're already doing the absolute best you can for your child just by having that frame of mind.
Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome, Stacy. Well, I'm so excited that to have this when you and I first connected, it was really I gotta admit, I was a little triggered. I
Oh,
was happy that we connected because I was like, "Oh my gosh, like how have we never met? How did we never like I'm sure that we crossed paths at some point or have mutual friends or whatever, because you went to the same high school my brother went to, and I think you guys were very close in age, but, I was a little bit triggered because we were talking about a couple things with Monta Vista and all that stuff, but it was so good to be able to talk about I told you to talk
mm,
because you understand. You totally understand, and you get it, and I've never had somebody like that. So I want to just thank you for coming into my life and, allowing me to have that, like, even though it's just a unique connection we have with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And now we have the golden connection
Now we have the golden connection.
and the
Yep.
Vegas connection.
So many connections.
And we grew up, like, almost really close to each other too. It's, like,
Crazy.
crazy. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. I'm gonna keep in touch with you. I'm
Yay.
looking forward to hearing about the next book that you start, which you clearly need to be working on, and, give Willow a big hug and kiss and everything, and this was just amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you for having me.
I just want to say one last word. If this podcast resonated with you, please share this and like with anybody that you think may need to hear it. Please like it. This really helps provide really good content and helps me understand what people want to hear on the show. So please like, listen, subscribe. And I really, really appreciate it. And Stacy is now part of the Trauma Rockstar family, and I want you to be part of the Trauma Rockstar family listening. So thank you for your time and have an amazing rest of your day.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks. The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I am not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast doesn't offer medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental or physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.